Two suspects in the jewel heist at the Louvre Museum in Paris have partially admitted their involvement. Russia says it tested a new nuclear weapon capable of provoking a powerful radioactive tsunami.
Big tech spending on Brussels lobbying hits record high.
Two suspects in the jewel heist at the Louvre Museum in Paris have partially admitted their participation, according to Paris prosecutor Laure Becchio. The two men are expected to be held in provisional detention.
Ils sont actuellement en cours de présentation devant les magistrats instructeurs en vue de leur mise en examen pour les infractions de vol au pluriel en bande organisée, crime faisant encourir la peine de 15 ans de réclusion criminelle et d'une forte amende. De la même façon, la qualification d'association de malfaiteurs a été retenue, délit faisant encourir la peine de 10 ans d'emprisonnement.
One suspect is a 34-year-old arrested on Saturday night at Charles de Gaulle Airport with a one-way ticket to Algeria. The other suspect, 39, is known to police for several thefts and his DNA was found at the scene. It took the thieves less than 8 minutes to steal the jewels valued at 88 million euros on the 19th of October. Russia has conducted a test of a new nuclear-powered and nuclear-capable underwater drone known as Poseidon. Speaking from a hospital where he met injured soldiers, Putin described it as a new weapon which cannot be intercepted.
Но Посейдон значительно превышает Сармат по мощности. И кроме того, по скоростям и по глубинам движения этого беспилотного аппарата в мире ничего подобного нет, в ближайшее время вряд ли появится, и способов перехвата не существует.
On Sunday, Moscow tested another nuclear weapon, which US President Donald Trump called not appropriate. Russian media reported that the Poseidon was designed to explode near coastlines and unleash a powerful radioactive tsunami.
Big tech spending on Brussels lobbying hits record high, according to a report published by NGOs Corporate Europe Observatory and Lobby Control. The tech industry is spending some 151 million annually on lobbying in Brussels, a rise of more than 50% when compared to 4 years ago. The tech industry is spending more on lobbying than any other industry. The top 10 tech companies spent almost 50 million euros this year, compared to 43 million euros for the top 10 pharma, finance and car companies combined. Top spenders include Meta at 10 million euros and Microsoft and Apple at 7 million euros each.
The EU is talking about deregulation, watering down essential rules, protecting data privacy, protecting against unfair AI systems. So big tech is set to profit from that moment by increasing its spending and trying to water down those rules as much as possible.
In the first half of 2025, Big Tech has met with high-level European Commission staff almost 150 times, which is more than one meeting for every working day, the report says. AI was the most lobbied issue. Other topics discussed include data centers, the cloud, the Digital Services Act, as well as the Digital Markets Act. This increasing lobbying effort comes as pressure on the European Commission from the US administration to change its online platform, and AI rules has gone up as well.
We see that crucial safeguards, digital safeguards, are under threat from two sides. On the one hand, we have this deregulation agenda from the European Commission, but on the other hand, Big Tech has been able to make a deal with the Trump administration to aggressively push back against the EU's digital legislation.
The pressure led to a debate about posing the AI Act, a set of rules that aim to regulate AI systems according to the risks they pose to society.
Hungary has two different positions on the enlargement of the European Union. On the one hand, the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán supports the applications by candidate countries in the Western Balkans. On the other hand, he rejects the possibility of Ukraine becoming a member state. His opposition is in line with the Hungarian leader's stance since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Budapest, which makes no secret of its ties with Moscow, says it fears an escalation of the war to one between Europe and Russia and has been consistently in favor of negotiations with Russia.
Nem szeretném, ha Magyarország egy olyan szövetségnek lenne a tagja, amelynek egy újonnan felvett új tagja folyamatosan háborús veszedelemben él, és bármikor beleránthat bennünket, mert most tudom azt mondani, hogy az ukrán-orosz háború nem a mi háborunk. De az ukránok tagjai az Uniónak, akkor az a mi háborunká válik, és ezt mi nem akarjuk.
Another argument used by Orbán is that Ukraine's possible entry would be costly for the EU, as a large part of the cohesion funds and agricultural policy would then be redirected to Kiev. At the same time, he argues that EU accession of countries in the Western Balkans would bring them political stability. Budapest currently has significant economic interest in the region, particularly in the energy and banking sectors.
U.S. President Donald Trump has kicked off the final leg of his first Asian tour since his return to the White House, arriving in the South Korean city of Gyeongju on Wednesday. Upon his arrival, he was taken to the venue where the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum was being held and delivered an address to regional leaders and entrepreneurs. It comes ahead of heavily anticipated trade talks between Trump and China's President Xi Jinping, whose disagreements have rattled global markets. Their talks are scheduled to take place in Busan on Thursday in what the world hopes will amount to a deal, ending global trade uncertainties. Trump, aboard Air Force One en route to South Korea, however, stressed that he was optimistic this meeting could yield positive results.
Tomorrow morning is the one that most people find most interesting, and I think we're going to have a great meeting with President Xi of China, and a lot of problems are going to be solved. I think we're going to have a very good outcome for our country and for the world, actually. I think it's important for the world.
Beijing has reciprocated the sentiment.
我们愿同美方共同努力，推动此次会晤取得积极成果，为中美关系稳定发展作出新指引，注入新动力。
Shortly after his address at the APEC Forum, Trump and South Korean officials announced that they had reached an agreement over their trading relationship, which would lower tariffs on goods imported into the U.S. from 25% to 15%. Trump had earlier noted that a trade deal was in the final stages, pending a breakthrough on a major sticking point: Trump's demand that Seoul invest $350 billion in the U.S. South Korean officials appear to have given in to that demand and will pump $200 billion in investment in cash to be paid out in $20 billion installments. The remaining $150 billion will be spent on investments in shipbuilding, which President Lee Jae-myung has promised to help Trump restore.
Lithuania's Foreign Minister Kęstutis Budrys has called on the European Union to deepen its sanctions against Belarus in response to recent balloon incursions that his government has described as hybrid attacks. He spoke to Euronews hours after the Baltic country closed its border and instructed its military to shoot down cigarette smuggling balloons entering from neighboring Belarus.
If we cannot deter by denial, we cannot just deny our airspace and they're entering, then we have to deter by punishment. And these leverages of punishment, these tools are sanctions, first of all. And the very exact and strong message, it is not allowed. And you will suffer damage for it, for what you're doing, because you are causing damage on our side.
Belarus already faces EU sanctions in response to its autocratic drift and complicity in Russia's war in Ukraine. But the foreign minister called for further restrictions on the country's aviation and banking sectors. The balloon incursions are the latest in a series of provocations which the West attributes to the Kremlin and its proxies. Drones and military aircrafts have also been spotted across the eastern flank and further inwards in Denmark, Belgium and Germany. Minister Budrys backed European initiatives to spend more on monitoring and shielding its borders from such incursions and warned Western European countries against complacency.
And if someone has doubts why to invest here, then that person or that country will see the consequences in their land, because it will go deeper into the Europe. All these provocations, as we've seen already, airports being shut down in Denmark, Netherlands, elsewhere, because of the drones. If we cannot counter it at the front line, it will go in this side. So it's time to invest it here and to build the resilience that can be then copied elsewhere in the continental Europe.
Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Cuba early Wednesday with 193 kilometers per hour winds after battering Jamaica as one of the Atlantic's strongest recorded hurricanes. Melissa made landfall near Chivirico in the province of Santiago de Cuba. The storm was expected to generate a surge of up to 3.6 meters in the region and drop up to 51 centimeters of rain in parts of eastern Cuba. Authorities said they evacuated over 700,000 people as the storm approached, threatening to batter the island nation and potentially worsen its severe economic crisis. Meanwhile, as Cuba grapples with the storm, officials in Jamaica prepared to fan out on Wednesday to assess the damage. The government said it hopes to reopen all of Jamaica's airports as early as Thursday to ensure the quick distribution of emergency relief supplies. At least 7 people, including 3 in Jamaica, have been killed by Hurricane Melissa as it batters the Caribbean.